This is the Scoop Slam Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Scoop Slam Podcast. We're back from hiatus, and we got an award show. We've got some stuff we've missed the past couple months. And before we get too far into it, I'm your host, Micah. Let me introduce my co-host. He lost his smile, but he found it. It's Ryan.
Yo, Micah, it's been too long, buddy. Been like, 2 months now?
Something like that. A lot of wrestling.
Yeah, a lot of wrestling. But I'm ready to scoop, slam it, and I put a bow on the mid-year award show that we got going on.
I think it'll be a good one. You know, the award shows pop a number. We're trying to do the same like old Tony Khan.
Oh, the scoopies. The mid-year scoopies, right?
We giving it the official tagline or the scoopies just for the end of the year?
I think mid-year scoopies works.
Mid-year scoopies. Okay. We can make it work. No official trophies, though. Those are only handed out at the end of the year. But these are just...
trademark it, though.
Yeah. These are just our forecast so far. Card subject to change, as always. But, you know, a little into our hiatus, as I so put it many moons ago. Yeah, there's a lot of wrestling going on. And
yeah.
I don't know. I assume if this is the only podcast you listen to, then you might have something wrong with you. But you probably are listening to us as well as other podcasts. Most of the podcasts I've listened to recently that review recent wrestling are burnt out. You can hear it in their voices. Either their recording schedules have moved. So me and you being the... what's the word I'm looking for? You're the wise man. We're the smartest men in the room.
Of course.
I predicted this when Collision got announced, and I kind of knew what was coming. So we took a couple months off to take a break, brainstorm, come up with a new plan. We're still going to review the wrestling. We're not going to do 2 episodes a week unless there's a pay-per-view and something crazy just happens.
Whoa. PLE.
Oh, okay. You know, PPV from AEW, PLE from WWE. But so we may do 2 episodes those week, but most weeks we're just going to do 1. We could always meet in the middle of the week. The weekends are hard to meet on because obviously, you know, unlike some of these people, we have real lives outside of this, you know, 4 walls of a recording studio, a virtual one at that. So yeah, I mean, I work, you work. This is not our only job. We don't make any money off of this.
Not a dime. No.
You know, we got family, friends. You got women to chase.
Yeah, bro, it's a part-time job at this point. I mean, what you got? 3 hours on Monday. I like to catch NXT sometimes. So that's 2 hours on Tuesday. You got Dynamite on Wednesday. That's another 2 hours. Thursday, we got anything on Thursday?
Impact, if you watch that, but I ain't watching it.
Nobody's watching that. But you got, Friday, you got SmackDown, Rampage, if you want to catch that.
3 hours.
And then there's 3 hours on Friday. And then you got Saturday night, which is probably the best show of the week. But at that point, you done seen so much wrestling throughout the week. I can't catch it live, man. I'll catch it the next day or maybe a couple of days after that. It's just a lot of wrestling to get through, man.
I just get sick of it. Like, if I didn't work, I mean, that would be fine. But, dude, if I sit down for 3 hours on Monday night and try and watch Raw, that's my whole night. That's all I get to do. So, and then, like you said, by the end of the week, you're so burnt out. They could, you know, be throwing babies in the air on Collision. And, like you said, it's my favorite show of the week, top to bottom, the most watchable show, in my opinion. But
it's Saturday night, though. Yeah. Jeez, man. Like, if you're like us, we have Saturdays off. Well, that's the last thing I want to do is watch wrestling on my off day.
Mm-hmm. Especially when you watch it all throughout the week, and then you've been watching it. You've already watched 7 hours by the time Collision comes on. Then you got to sit and watch another 2 on your off day. So, yeah. Unless people feel generous enough and you love this podcast enough, I don't think that I'm going to be committing that amount of time to it. So we've got a new format to consume the product how we want to. We'll hit the high points. We're like the Young Bucks. We're all high spots.
Yep.
We'll review the big moments. Once a week, we'll meet, hour and a half, 2-hour show, and move on.
Don't expect us to talk about Alpha Academy versus the Viking Raiders. We're not gonna sit there and deep dive on that, but we might talk about the Bloodline, talk about one Phil Brooks here and there, and just we will get there and just run down the news pretty much for our only show of the week.
And yeah, I just think that's going to work better. So
definitely.
I don't know. I mean, if you have the time for that and you can watch all that wrestling, more power to you. But me, And if you want us to, I can open up a Patreon. If you really love this podcast that much, we need a market manager or something. Somebody to get us some cash flow rolling for 12 hours a week.
Or have somebody edit this thing for free. Yeah. That'd be much appreciated.
I didn't even factor that into it too. If you watch 9 hours of wrestling, we got to meet and talk about it for 2 hours. So now we're up to 11. It usually takes me an hour to edit, put everything together, upload it. If not 2 hours, depending on the show and depending on how many things we got to fix. So now we're talking about 14, 15 hours altogether. And then if there's a pay-per-view, good God.
Oh, yeah. We got to take the clips for TikTok and don't we got an IG? We got an IG, right?
Yeah, we got an IG. We've moved the numbers on IG. We got a video with 45K views.
Oh, okay. All right. Like, share, subscribe to our IG page, please. But yeah, man, it's a lot, man. It's a lot of wrestling.
So we're trying to manage it. If you hear my dog, he's drinking in the background. Can you hear it?
Nah. I don't hear nobody. Oh. I hear you. Yeah, I hear you.
Well, I would hope. Unless there's a third person that's called that I don't know about.
Oh, yeah, Craig.
Yeah, Craig's here. He's helping us out.
He's there.
Well, speaking of returns, we got a big one that we missed and we're kind of waiting for because otherwise AEW is getting pretty dull to me. The return of one Phil Brooks, as you mentioned a little bit earlier. It's been about a month now. He debuted on the debut episode he didn't debut. He returned on the debut episode of Collision. Saturday nights, 7 to 9 here, Central. But, I want to talk a little bit about it. The first episode, we'll kind of break it down a little bit. Probably not going to hit a ton on the multi-man matches, obviously. The first episode, the initial promo, the little hits at the Bucks, one true article in a field of counterfeit Bucks, I believe was the verbiage. He talked about, I'm sorry that your favorite wrestlers are soft. And he basically just kind of did what CM Punk does. Where's the line of where is he lying? Where is he telling the truth? Where is reality? Where is the work? So I just want to get your thoughts on the initial promo. And then that night he followed it up with a match with CM Punk, FTR, and they fought the Bullet Club Gold and Samoa Joe. That was it. So what was your initial thoughts on the first episode of Collision?
I mean, I thought it was an okay show. He cut a all right promo, telling when he's telling lies. It was fine. I don't know, man. His first month back, he's had a few okay matches. That one good promo, just what was that, week 1, and then he I don't know, man. Maybe it's too early to judge, but right now, if I'm grading it, I go maybe C plus, maybe C. Yeah, what? Right, come on, man. We're judging. I'm not a big Phil Brooks fan, but he is one of the greats of this generation, and he's not putting his best foot forward on Saturday nights. I'm sorry, man.
Are you sure you're watching? Are you on TBS? Or USA Network?
No, my TV works just fine. It's right there on the channel watching Saturday night, AEW Collision. Saturday night's the night for fighting. That the Elton John song. Yeah, man, I'm there. I'm watching it. But you think he's doing great stuff? I think it's pretty average. It's on par.
I think it's the best stuff in AEW currently.
Well, okay. Oh, well, yes, but if we're judging him by his past work, like we're going by 2012 CM Punk, when he was at the apex of his powers. If we're comparing that to this, I mean, it's just okay
Well,
for him.
It's the first month. I'd give it a B plus. It's not
Really?
Yeah. Okay. Look, I'm a big mark for Punk. If this is the first time you've listened to us, get to know me. If you've been listening to us, you probably know that by now. I really liked the first promo because it was classic CM Punk, that he veiled, is this truth? Is this work?
Yeah.
The matches he's been in, the first one, multi-man match, really solid. Obviously, there's other factors in there. It's not just him the whole time. But I really like the first match. I think his
match with his Kojima match was okay. I thought that was pretty good.
Okay, yeah, I didn't even think about that. Which we'll hit on that in a little bit. Man, his promos have been good. I think this latest episode where he faced Samoa Joe, the promo at the start of the show,
oh man,
it wasn't bad. It just wasn't anything crazy.
No, and I ain't gonna lie, man. That last show, Collision, it just felt empty. Like it was only like 1,000 people in the arena. It didn't feel major league,
Well, no disrespect to our Canucks out there, but I had never heard of Hamilton, Ontario until
they were in
this weekend.
They were in Regina.
Oh, yeah. Can we say that on the show?
Sure, why not?
But I mean, well, shoot, half the places they've been running up. I've heard of Saskatoon only from Brock Lesnar. That's the only reason I've ever heard of that place in my life. No disrespect to anybody from there, because I'm sure you ain't heard where I'm from either, because I live in...
Oh, never heard of Saskatoon? Really?
Not...
Brett. That's what Brett beat Ric Flair for the world title. His first world title.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Saskatoon.
I mean, we're slightly on the map for Dothan, if you like Continental, but...
yeah.
But anyways, we're on a tangent. I think Punk's work has been pretty solid thus far. I've enjoyed it, but maybe, I mean, at the same time, I'm sure I'm a little biased just because he's, to me, the best thing about AEW. He's the reason I got into AEW and kind of came back to wrestling to a point. And to me, Dynamite is really lacking without him and FTR.
Yeah.
I've really even liked Bullet Club Gold a lot, and I wasn't high on them initially.
Yeah, I'm more of a Juice fan personally than the greatest heel of all time, Jay White. Yeah, can I say something?
Go ahead.
Bro, I feel like they're leaving a lot of money on the table by just completely cooling off that Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, CM Punk beef.
Well, I guess this can segue into one of the topics that I was going to talk about. We didn't really touch on that. Was it Sports Illustrated or no? It was an ESPN article that came out that he said that he reached out to, try and start something, rebuild the bridge, and they don't want to. He's getting contacted by lawyers, easy for me to say, that they don't want anything to do with him. Don't text me. Don't hit me up. And at Forbidden Door, it came out because Punk was there fighting Kojima, as you said, and obviously Kenny, about died. So, well, we'll get there later. And they were on separate ends of the building. So
that can't be true.
You don't buy that? So?
Part of me thinks that this is maybe they're embellishing because there's no way, man. I mean, did they have separate locker rooms?
Probably, I'm sure Punk and the Bucks get their own locker room because Punk's a big star. Well, obviously he gets his own locker room because when they fought, it was Punk's locker room and it was
Oh,
only his
okay, yeah.
locker room.
Yeah, I
I'm
get
sure Kenny and the Bucks get theirs because they're EVPs. So,
Bro, do we start to blame Tony Khan for this? Because he could
oh
squash this. He could squash this.
yeah, he could. He ain't, but he could.
Just say, okay, if you're not gonna work together, go home. I'm not gonna pay you.
Yep. Especially to be high ranking. This is taking Punk's word for truth.
Yeah.
If he is trying to get up with them and work this out, and they're not as high ranking officials of a company, then it's time to either be demoted or, you're just going to have to put your big boy britches on and get over it.
Yeah, man. They're acting like it's a high school. Did you hear about that little backstage altercation that happened on Monday?
Yeah.
So it got squashed almost immediately, and everything's back to normal. I guarantee Judgment Day, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens are all gonna be working in the same building next week in the same locker room, and nobody is going to think twice about it. Why can't that happen at AEW?
Because I guess they feel like it's their company, so they can do what they want to, and if they don't want to interact with somebody, they ain't got to. But I mean, not to, put our personal lives out there. Me and you have both worked at Walmart at one point in our life. Personally, I never got aggravated with you. I don't know if you ever got aggravated with me, but we got aggravated at people throughout the day. Somebody pissed you off because they're not dispensing an order quick enough, or picking, or somebody messed up something in the back room, somebody gets something wrong in their car, and you let it go. You'll be pissed in the moment, and then the next day it's like, okay. Like, I argued with people and got mad at Walmart, and do I associate with those people outside of work? No. But did I work with them and things were okay? Yeah. Because that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah. And bro, this is the wrestling business. Like, I mean, if Edge, Matt Hardy, and Lita can all work together after all that drama back in 2005, then these guys can put aside some. It wasn't even a big deal, really, man.
No.
Like,
Draymond punched Jordan Poole.
yeah.
They worked a whole season together. Now, obviously he got traded now, but they still played 82 games of basketball together, plus more during the playoffs.
Can we trade Kenny Omega?
Yeah, send him. I'm fine with. No. Y'all get the Bucks. We
we do not want them. You can send them to GCW all you want, but
New Japan for you. But anyways, all in all, I've enjoyed Punk's return. The match with Samoa Joe I thought was nice. All the multi-man stuff has been good. Who did he face? I know he fought Kojima. No. The next round was Joe. So I've enjoyed all of his matches. His work's been good. I think we need to wait for him to get into an actual feud to like really judge him. But
yeah. So you giving it a B?
Yeah, I give it a B.
So far? I'm giving it an incomplete.
Okay. I can understand that. And this weekend he fights Ricky Starks for the Owen Cup finals on Collision. So
could be good.
Let me ask you one thing and we'll move on to the next. You think Punk turns heel?
No.
You think he wins?
No. I think Joe and Punk are going to continue their feud because they left the door open for a rematch, bro. He choked him out on Saturday. So I think that's where his feud is going to. I think they have one more match at what's the next pay-per-view?
All In.
Was that September?
Late August.
That's not the Wembley show, right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so the first one is the Wembley show.
First one is the Wembley show. It's late August. The next one is in Chicago, All Out.
Yeah. Which is crazy that they're doing a pay-per-view the next week, but
back to back.
I digress. But yeah, man, I think Joe would be his his opponent going into that Wembley show. Because, bro, so that's a month away. He wouldn't have any time to build up a challenger in a month or a program in a month. I think the Samoa Joe and CM Punk stuff has got the history behind it. They could play some ROH highlights. Joe did choke him out last Saturday, so CM Punk has a reason to be angry at Samoa Joe. Yeah, I mean, I think this goes on for another month. I don't think CM Punk turns heel yet.
I could see it. I had fantasy booked in my mind, maybe him screwing Ricky, cheating.
Oh, pause.
What?
You fantasize?
all the words that just made up that sentence were not good.
Don't cut that out.
Anyways, Ricky, dadgummit, I guess Punk is going to cost Ricky in a heelish fashion, and maybe it rides that line of like, is he face? Is he heel? And then I thought they would segue with this whole what's in the bag thing that he's doing against MJF. However,
yeah,
MJF is a heel, but he's doing this program with Cole. So does he turn babyface?
Which I don't like, by the way.
I'm kind of into it.
I don't like that it's comedy, man. I don't know.
I like the segment they did tonight. I skimmed through like the first 30 minutes of Dynamite, and they did a nice segment. I would say go watch it. I see your point.
Yeah.
But MJF stuff is always good regardless, so I don't know. But your Joe Punk feud going to Wembley does kind of make sense because they could do a big Iron Man match stipulation or something like that. Maybe like a 30,
Jesus
not
Christ.
an hour, not an hour.
Oh my God. Are we sure Joe can do that now?
Well, he looked good Saturday night.
Yeah, that was probably my favorite match of his since probably that match he had with Brock Lesnar at Great Balls of Fire in 2017. I think that was.
That's high praise. I like the one he had with Darby a couple months ago, but that was also because like Darby can bump around like nobody's business.
Yeah, you're right. I did like that.
Well,
I forgot all about that.
Yeah, because they had the first match, which was really good. That I think Joe beat him, and then they came back and did like a hardcore match or Falls Count Anywhere or whatever. It was really good. I mean, obviously they had a bunch of stuff everywhere, but
Darby had a good match with Brody King.
Mm-hmm.
He had a good match with him. Yeah, man, Darby works well with the bigger dudes.
He's a very good underdog babyface. So I really like Darby. I wish they would kind of do a little more with him instead of teaming him with old Cassidy right now, but we'll see where it takes us. But speaking of moving on, we're moving on to just another thing we've kind of missed. We've already touched on it a little bit, so we won't spend a whole lot of time on it. The debut of AEW Collision on Saturday nights. I really like the theme song to start out. It's different, but I don't know. It fits with the show.
Yeah, it fits.
But overall, there's a couple things I want to talk about. And obviously, we just heard the news that SmackDown did the insane rating of 3 mil during the Bloodline stuff.
Yeah.
Number 1 on cable, maybe. That would be the first time that wrestling was ever first time on cable. And
I think wasn't it number 1 on television, period?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like, I think that's the first time ever. So, crazy. I don't know. And, well, let me say this, and then I'll counter what I'm about to say. The ratings on a Saturday night, obviously they started kind of high. I think it was 800 maybe or 900. The second episode dipped a little bit. No. The second episode dipped a little bit. The third episode was low. I think it was 450. And this next one I think came back.
But that third one was taped as well.
That's true. And the card had no Punk in the main event. The main event was Joe versus Roddy, which was a good
Holiday
match.
holiday weekend too.
Holiday weekend. We got to factor these things in. But last week they came back. I want to say they had around 580. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. It
Okay.
was pretty solid, man. I thought they were gonna go lower, but I think that's where they're gonna average about 600, 580, something like that.
So, what do you think? You think that's the end goal? If you're a Warner exec, 5 to 6, maybe 7 on a big show?
Yeah, it's got to be doing better than what they were. They're probably just playing reruns of old movies on that time slot before AEW got there. So, yeah, man, I would assume that the Warner Brothers execs would be happy with that number. And truthfully, man, I I don't think they needed another 2 hours, me personally, but 600,000 ain't nothing to turn your nose up at. That's pretty darn solid for a beat show.
And let me just say this, and I know it's going to sound like I'm scapegoating or whatever for
Oh, putting your cape on
Collision.
for AEW, huh?
Here we go. Ratings do matter to a point, but I think that
Mm.
600,000 today is a lot different than 600,000 in 2008 or 2009 when cable
Yeah,
viewership is at an all-time low.
yeah.
Like you said, I think that if they can float around that number, especially on a Saturday night, that's probably what they're looking for. I imagine a rerun would probably grab 300 to 400,000 on a Saturday night, but
And it's first run television that they don't have to pay any money to produce. So I'm sure they're happy with that.
and it's it's sports. That got my mind completely went blank. And network shows love sports. Network channels love sports. Live sports, especially.
It's the only
So
thing that's still a draw in this day and age, man.
yeah, it's if you look across the board, like the top shows are always basketball, hockey, football,
Football. Yeah.
baseball.
Yeah. Bro, if you just look at the top 100 most watched things for the last year, I'm sure 90% of it is probably sports or news. I guarantee it.
That's the only reason that I have cable, which I don't have
Yeah.
cable. I have Hulu Live, but same thing. I don't watch TV. I watch sports, and like I watch some of the old shows. Like I'm a big How I Met Your Mother fan. I'll go back and watch that on Hulu, but it ain't live. I couldn't tell you the last live TV show that was not wrestling,
Yeah.
something related to wrestling, like Dark Side of the Ring, in years.
Bro, if somebody pointed a gun to your head and asked you to name 5 television shows currently that is airing every week, you think you could answer that question?
Uh,
Just go ahead and pull the trigger for me, man. I don't know.
Keeping Up with the
Young
Kardashians?
Young Rock still come on?
Nope, got canceled.
Oh man.
Uh,
Yeah. I'm getting taken out, man.
South Park, Family Guy,
Oh, okay. Oh, all right.
American Dad. Is that still?
Yeah,
They're remaking Futurama. There you go.
I think isn't that exclusive to like Hulu or something?
Well, never mind. That'd be good. I'll take the 9 mil.
Oh man.
But I do want to say something. We got low viewership on this podcast, but Jonathan Coachman.
Come on now.
Well,
We're building.
we're true to our audience. Jonathan Coachman posted something that pisses me off. He said that wrestling shows have never drawn on Saturday nights. They tried it in WWE and it never worked. Do you not understand that like wrestling existed before 1999 and that wrestling existed outside of WWE. Like WCW had Saturday night for years. Wrestling in the territories was primarily on Saturday nights. So I
I
understand
get
the
what
point.
I get what he's saying though.
He's saying like in today's age, but to say wrestling has never drawn on Saturday night, you're just blatantly lying.
Do you know WWE's highest audience of all time was on Saturday night? Saturday night's main event.
Yeah.
They did 33 million for Andre and Hogan rematch.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But to be fair, that was on NBC and there wasn't a lot of channels back then.
Yeah, there was like 12 channels.
Yeah.
Still though, 33 million people, that's insane.
That's crazy.
And still not number one on cable.
No, it wasn't because there was a lot more people watching television back then as well. So you had a larger audience to draw from.
Well, you got to think in the 80s, they didn't have phones or real game systems. The only entertainment they had was a TV.
Yeah.
So it's just a new day and age, and cable's too expensive, and a lot of people only want to watch sports. So I don't know. Saturday's probably not a great day, but I think they can make it work. I do want to, lastly, on the topic of AEW Collision, the overall product, very different from Dynamite. In my personal opinion, I think, and I want to say some of this has been confirmed, that Punk is helping with the booking or he's formatting some of the stuff on Collision. So in my mind, I think that's got to be helping. But what do you think about the overall product? Because in my opinion, top to bottom, 7 p.m. when you start that show to 9 p.m. when the show closes, it is the most watchable, no skip, not like, okay, I can look at my phone right now, show on TV right now, wrestling show.
Yeah, man, it's not as insulting as the show they do on Wednesdays because I don't know, man. The show they do on Wednesdays is kind of, they laugh at everything. They have comedy segments like the MJF, Adam Cole stuff, which some people like, but I don't know, man. Just some of that stuff they air on Wednesdays kind of feels like their version of Monday Night Raw comedy, and I'm just not a fan of it. The stuff they do on Saturday is fine. It's a wrestling show. There's not a lot of storylines yet, so I'll give it some time to cook. But so far, so good, man. You can't really complain about the in-ring. It's solid. Just my only nitpick would just be, a little more storyline based stuff and quit with the rematches of FTR and the Bang Bang Boys. I'm not a fan of that. But they wrestle every week, man. You notice that? They wrestled 4 times in the last 5 weeks.
Yeah, but I think they're blowing it off this weekend.
I hope so. You dog Street Profits and Usos for running that into the ground, but you can tolerate the 6 million rematches, the FTR and Juice and his little buddy Jay White have done the last 5 weeks. You can overlook that, but not Street Profits, huh?
Well, the first week it was a 6-man. The second week it was 8-man. They didn't fight at all the third week. And the fourth week they had probably one of the best TV matches of the year. So, I don't know.
They got a rematch. They got a rematch on Saturday, though.
Well, 2 out of 3 falls. I'm looking forward to it.
So would that count for 5 matches in the last 5 weeks? They got 2 out of 3 falls?
Nah, come on now. You're just nitpicking.
I'm just saying.
But anyways, I think the storylines will come with time. I really like that they're showcasing some of the other guys. Bullet Club Gold, Powerhouse Hobbs, Starks. I don't care for Scorpio Sky.
Keep Jericho off their show.
God, yeah. I keep him off any show. Personally. Send him back to New Japan. There was somebody else I was going to say that. Oh, Miro. Yeah.
Yeah.
Andrade's okay.
Not a fan, man. I understand he's a great wrestler, but there's always going to be a ceiling for guys like that. And I'm not trying to come off as racist here, but man, his English isn't the best. It can only take you so far you are cutting your own promos and you can't speak English, you know?
Oh, I don't think you're being any kind of way. I mean, it's just, well, it's honest. Like, if
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. If you took CM Punk and put him in AAA, does he have the same kind of effect there? No, because he can't speak Spanish. So it's hard for a Spanish wrestler who doesn't speak English as well as, maybe like a Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero, who are also of Hispanic descent, but can cut an English promo. It's just hard
Yeah.
to get over if I can't understand you.
And he can speak English, but when he does, it just sounds like he's reading from a script. And I hate that. I hate when it sounds like you got a prepared written statement of your promo.
The best thing I've heard, and I'm not sure who said it, is that he almost sounds like he's faking.
Come on,
He's
man.
like making fun of somebody who speaks broken English.
Oh man. Bro. And you know what? They had him a manager. When he first got there, he had, I think wasn't it Vicky?
It was
He had
Vicky
Vicky,
originally.
and then he had Chavo.
Yep.
And then he went to Jose. Is that
Hmm.
Jose next? What happened to Jose?
I don't know. I ain't never heard him cut a good promo though. I don't understand why they didn't keep Chavo. Chavo, I mean, he's no master
Well,
of the mic, but he can cut a decent
well,
promo.
Tony Khan left him on red, man. You don't remember that story?
Yeah, I do. Well, moving on to our last little, return topic. Obviously, we kind of hinted on it. The Bloodline segment from this past Friday and just everything that they're doing over there. More merch than ever before. Ticket sales through the roof. And honestly, I'll say it. I texted you this yesterday. I think wrestling is in probably another boom period, or in the beginning stages of one. Maybe a light boom, if you want to call it that. We ran down at the top of the show. There's like 9 hours of 9 to 10, maybe 11 hours of wrestling every week.
Yeah.
That's not been, since 2001. Meltzer put out a report that this is the most traction they've had since 2001. So I think there's something to be said for that. Obviously, this all falls on the shoulders of the Bloodline. It's the hottest storyline in wrestling, and I mean, is anything else getting 40 minutes?
No. And Michael, that's not even the best part, man. They're up year over year, which has not happened in WWE I want to say they were up from, I think 2000 did higher ratings than 99, but that was the last time they were up year over year.
That's an
And
insane stat.
And maybe that's because, they dropped so many viewers over the last 20 years or so, but still, man, they built more people. They built a larger audience over the last year. And we were just dogging television. Like, people don't consume TV like it used to. What other television show has been up year over year compared to last year? It's not a lot, man.
Very
But
few, or
very
just
few.
sports.
Yeah, very few. But WWE's doing it. And it's hard to argue, man. I mean, the numbers don't lie. They're one of their hottest points at this point, which is crazy to say, man. But we're technically in a boom period for WWE.
And it almost, I don't know if it's because I'm living through it, but it
Yeah.
doesn't feel like it. Like, I guess I don't see any more wrestling shirts in public than I used to. I don't
Yeah.
hear people talking about it in a casual basis more than I used to.
But bro, the children that are growing up on this, I'm sure they're gonna speak praises on it in about 5-10 years.
And I think that a lot of people, I've had people that I went to school with, that I grew up talking about wrestling with who have texted me, "Hey, what's going on with the Bloodline?" Or like, "Hey, I just watched WrestleMania. I'm pissed Cody lost. I got to watch Monday to see what happened." So, I mean, I guess we are in another boom period, even though you wouldn't think it. I guess to me at least, but when you look at the numbers, I mean, AEW, despite all this kind of glazing we're doing on WWE, they've done 75,000 for a show across the world that they don't even have like main television in. They're 6,000 away from the all-time gate. That's an insane stat. So, I mean, here we
man.
are.
It's crazy. I feel like AEW is probably at its coldest point, but it's worth bragging about that you're gonna put 80,000 people in a stadium with no matches announced. That's pretty. I mean, you pat yourself on the back for that.
And I do agree. To me, it kind of feels cold, but I think AEW has brought a lot of people back. Just the fact that there's something else to watch. It's not just WWE on a main stage. So,
And another thing, Micah, people going back to the Bloodline, people dog, sports entertainment. The talking is too much. But you look at that SmackDown that they aired last Friday. The first 30 minutes was talking. And then the last 20 minutes was talking. Nobody complained. The crowd was locked in, loud all night. It just goes to show, man, that you can put on 7-star classics in the Tokyo Dome all you want, but what's gonna draw the most eyeballs? It's just good storylines, man.
that you took the words right out of my mouth, because you don't watch Game of Thrones for the fight scenes. You don't watch, I mean, any TV show ever. You might watch UFC for just the fighting, but for wrestling, it's built on storylines. You care about Dusty Rhodes because every time he's about to get that title, he loses. You care about Sting because every time he's about to get that title, Ric Flair cuts him off. You care about the NWO because they constantly beat up your favorite wrestlers, and you have to be glued to your TV to see if somebody can get the one up on him. You care about Stone Cold Steve Austin because he's a rebel, and you have to be glued to your TV to see what Stone Cold's going to do this week, because it's always something better.
Yeah.
The business is built on stories. It's not built on crazy matches.
No.
And people online will be like, "I swear wrestling fans hate wrestling more than anything. They just want to hear people talk." It's not like that. It's the fact that I don't want to see two guys fight for 35 minutes with no story. I want to be invested.
Yeah. You can see great matches anywhere, man.
Yep. I mean, shoot, there's local promotions here that I'm sure have good matches, or, GCW, New Japan, Impact, wherever you want to go. Sure, they all look cool and they all do the same moves, but until I can really sink my teeth into a character or, something driving this feud, what can I think of off the top of my head? I'm invested in this character of Jon Snow. I hate that he left Winterfell and went to the Wall. I've got to see him defend this wall. I've got to see how, he beats his next stumbling block. I always go back to Game of Thrones just because it's kind of on my mind and there's the book sitting right in front of me. But it's like one of the greatest shows of all time. So the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah. Yeah, you got it, man. It's right there. You said it. You said it, man.
Anyways, off the little tangent. The Bloodline segment from this Friday night, the Tribal Court for Roman Reigns. Obviously, we missed all the stuff, but the Usos have turned on Roman. This 40 minutes, but it was insane. Roman trying to give the lay to Jay. That rhymed. Tears running down his face. Then it was like Solo wants it. What else can you say about the Bloodline? At this point, it's in rarefied air of being one of the greatest WWE storylines of all time. I know it sounds like we're glazing, but it's just honest. Again,
Yeah.
It's a pivotal point in why wrestling is up right now.
Yeah. Because if you look at the rest of SmackDown, man, yeah, it ain't got nothing on the Bloodline, man. It's not even in the same ballpark.
And you can tell with the quarter hours too. The people watch that, they leave, and then they come back by the end to see, okay, what's happening with the Bloodline.
Bro, because there's really not much else going on SmackDown. Like, there's no Bray. Bobby's been missing. Edge just came back. It's just a lot of guys missing, and then the stuff that's happening, you're not like Theory is treated like I don't know, man. That Cena match did him no favors. Like, he still feels ice cold to me.
I don't know. He can't get. I don't want to say he's like tripping over his own feet or.
They don't give him anything.
Yeah. But something's just not clicking with him to me. I think he needs to go away for a little bit. Not permanently.
Oh, man. You think Grayson Waller being on that show is going to hurt him?
Theory, yeah.
And then you got LA Knight has just passed him in popularity.
And he wasn't even on the show last week. He was in a daggum dark segment before the show started. They aired it on YouTube, and it got more views than anything else from SmackDown aside from the Bloodline stuff.
Everybody loves LA Knight, man.
That's what he says. He's right.
It's his game, man.
And you know what, Kevin Nash? You're wrong. I hate to tell you.
Screw you, Kevin Nash.
I wouldn't go that far. I met the guy. He's nice.
Well, he's wrong on this.
Yeah. I don't know. Even if he is Stone Cold and The Rock and he's just stealing from him, they ain't around. Nobody. Yeah. He's not word for word copying. He's just grabbing inspiration.
Yeah, Ric Flair stole from the original Nature Boy, and Hulk Hogan stole from Billy Graham. So, I mean, it's wrestling, man. People steal stuff from other people. It's not a big deal.
The wheel.
As long as he's not a complete ripoff, though.
Yeah, like Gilbert.
Or like Shark Boy doing the Steve Austin impression.
Hey, no. That was over in this household.
Oh,
I like Shark Boy.
Hey, I loved it as a kid.
It was stupid, but I don't know. It worked for me. Normally, I don't like that kind of stuff, but maybe it was just because I was a kid and I was like, oh, well, he's all right.
You didn't think it was stupid when he woke up in a fish tank and from his coma and he thought he was Steve Austin?
It was still real to me then. I thought it was a fish. No,
yeah.
I'm just playing. But yeah, I mean, where do you think they're going? Obviously, SummerSlam's coming up next. We will be in attendance for the New Orleans show, so I have some exclusive stuff. We got to plan that out, see what we can do. But we'll be at the New Orleans show, which is 2 weeks before SummerSlam. Where do you think they're going with this?
I feel like Roman is going to beat Jey Uso. There's not a snowball's chance in hell that Jey Uso beats Roman Reigns for the title. I feel like the next logical step would be to have Solo and Roman feud, right?
But do you think they bring it up that early? Because then maybe I could see that around Survivor Series or Royal Rumble as we get closer, because then it kind of leaves Roman wide open for Cody, which we think will be the eventual person to take him down. But I mean, they still got a whole half a year to get to Mania.
Yeah. I can see him feuding with like Bobby coming out of SummerSlam, because Bobby has been missing and he's working all the house shows, so he's healthy. And
Oh, okay.
Roman hasn't actually, Bobby pinned Roman in 2018 when he came back. So I mean that could play. And he's like one of the only guys that's beat Roman Reigns clean. Like no outside interference, nothing. He speared him and he pinned him 1, 2, 3. So I mean he still has that to bring up. Bobby does. So you can bring that up to Roman. I can see them feuding. AJ is had a feud with Karrion Cross, and both guys are colder than ice right now. But they can always heat up AJ, man. The fans love AJ Styles. They could run it back. They haven't wrestled in about 7 years, which is crazy to think about. But they had some great matches in 2016. They could run that back. Roman has challengers on SmackDown. It's not like the cupboard is bare, but
Yeah, it wasn't like how it was a couple of months ago when we were kind of looking around like, who in God's name is going to challenge Roman after Cody?
and Bray, if
That's
Bray ever gets cleared.
I was about to ask you about that because didn't the Fiend hand hand Roman one of his last couple losses?
The last world champion was the Fiend.
Okay, there we go. I was about to say, yeah, because you know more about you're better at the history than me, especially the more recent stuff. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I'm not
Bray
big
never
on
got his
Bray.
rematch. He never got his rematch though for losing.
Well, so there's a couple ways they could go. I don't think Solo turns yet. Maybe at Royal Rumble or something like that, so they can heat that up going into Mania, get Cody his eventual shot, and then we'll go from there. But I mean, it's just crazy. This is one of the things that we're living in an era where people make plans Friday night to be in front of their TV because they have to see live what's happening.
Yeah.
And if you told me, I think you said this, so I'm going to steal it. If you told me a couple years ago that I would want to drive 5 hours because Roman Reigns is going to be on a show, heck no.
What you smoking, man? Ain't no way. Who else
But,
is on the show? I would have asked.
I mean, he's the biggest star in the world right now, and we got a couple more questions we're going to pose about him in the coming weeks, but alas, it's time. Roll out the carpet, play the trumpets. I don't have the soundboard with me today.
Yeah, we ain't got nothing. That's all right.
But, close your eyes and imagine trumpets and imagine a red carpet because it's time for the mid-year scoopies. We got a couple categories. I think we kind of toned down on the worst stuff because we're going to wait till the end to do all that because we don't want to, throw tomatoes at somebody right now, but there's a couple negatives.
Yeah, we will, though.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get there.
We always looking to throw a negative. Nah, we talked about the good stuff on here. We talked about good stuff today. We'll see how far we get, especially next week. But starting us off with the mid-year scoopies, the biggest surprise of the year, and there was a couple I had here, 2 or 3 that I went between, but I got one big one that I was surefire had to be my answer. But I'm gonna let you go first. So for the biggest surprise, what you got?
Man, you can go with a lot of stuff here. At first, initially, I put AEW sells 70,000 tickets with no matches announced at Wembley Stadium. I did have that, but then I thought to myself, wait a minute. There was something even bigger that happened this year. Micah, WWE has sold to Endeavor and got absorbed by the UFC.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that happened this year, man.
That didn't even make my honorable mention.
Jeez. Bro, when it happened, that's a huge surprise to me because I thought the McMahon family would own the WWE forever. Or I thought that they would eventually sell to maybe NBC or something. If I looked at my crystal ball, man, I saw that, I would have thought something was wrong, man, because they sold it for almost $9 billion, which is more than any NBA team has been sold for, or any NFL team has been sold for. WWE. And Vince McMahon came back out of nowhere, made a surprise return, and sold the company.
It's him all along.
Yeah, there it is. And he came out with a mustache too. So.
Oh God, Vincenzo. You know,
Yeah, man, that's what I got, man.
I probably should change my answer because that's probably the real one. Because, like you said, I never in a million years would have thought they got sold, especially to UFC, because they've always slightly viewed them as competition.
They sold more they sold more. WWE sold more than UFC did. I think UFC got sold for about 4 billion,
Yeah,
but WWE almost did twice as much in their sale. Just crazy to think about.
and like Vince is still chain of command, but Vince is not at the same time. Like he's not the top dog in that company scheme.
Mm-mm.
That's insane to think about. As
Crazy.
for my initial answer, I had to think back to the one moment that I just kind of stood there in shock and just kind of, mouth wide open. I dropped my phone on the ground.
Oh.
Cody Rhodes losing at WrestleMania. This what we had, if you go back and listen to our show, we had a surefire lock. I was like, there's no way Cody's losing at Mania, right? And we were like, yeah, I mean that what else would they do? Well, they he lost.
Yeah, he did.
It wasn't clean, but he lost.
He did lose.
I mean, there's not a lot to say. They are trying to make this go to next year's WrestleMania. You're more into it than me. Maybe it's because I see the writing on the wall. I don't know. But I called you that night, and we talked for about 30 minutes because I was shocked. I had people texting me,
Yeah.
did they really do that? I was like, I guess. I looked at my wife, and I was like, there's no way. As soon as Solo came in there, and I think, what did he do? Hit him or something, and the ref was turning around, I was like, there's no way. They're not going to do it. Sure enough, they did.
Yep. Got pinned.
Honorable mentions, John Cena, Money in the Bank. That was just kind of...
That was weird.
Yeah. It was a surprise, though. I don't know if it was a good one, but it was a surprise.
It came out of nowhere.
Let's see. Sabu at Double or Nothing.
Well, he debuted the week before.
Well, yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, that was a little, what the heck?
Yeah, I mean, out of nowhere, didn't really make a whole lot of sense, but it happened.
No, it still doesn't. It did happen. I don't know what happened after that because he never saw him again, but it happened.
And my third one, which was, well, third in the list, but really, if I had to, this is the one I almost put. Carlito at Backlash, which is half because of the pop, because people went freaking nuts over it, but it was, I mean, I wasn't expecting it, so I don't know. But your answer is probably the most right.
He got signed too. Carlito did.
Yeah, he hadn't debuted yet. Put him against Roman.
I wouldn't hate it. He's jacked.
Yeah, he is swole.
Yeah.
Moving to our next scoopy, best promo slash segment. This one took some consideration because, like last year, I remember the MJF promo. That was pretty, like clear cut. That's probably the winner. For this one, I'm going more towards a segment. I don't know if we need to put those two categories separate, but just the tribal courts. Last week's was 40 minutes, and I think the first one was like 30 or 35.
Yeah.
No segments in history have almost ever gone that long, especially to be as good as they are. WWE would not trust them with that amount of time if it wasn't just top-notch stuff. So I really enjoyed both. I can go back and watch those. I think that's a lot of the tell that me and you kind of go by. Will I go back and watch the show, promo, match, etc.? So I think those are very watchable, good stuff. And frankly, as we mentioned earlier, the Bloodline stuff is kind of setting the business on fire. There's something to be said for that. Honorable mentions. I got the Punk return promo on the initial Collision. I really enjoyed
Wow.
it.
Wow.
You didn't think as highly of it.
I thought it was fine, man. It's just when you're okay, so LeBron James is the greatest player of all time.
Yeah.
Now, LeBron
Agreed on this
James,
podcast.
of course, yeah, shouldn't be a debate actually, but okay, so if we're comparing LeBron James currently, 2023, Lakers LeBron, 39 years old. You compare him to 28-year-old LeBron, 2013, at the peak of his powers, you can't, that's not really a fair comparison. I mean, he's still great, don't get me wrong, but he's not that guy anymore, you know?
I see your point, but I don't know. I like the little jabs here and there, and I thought it was like one of his better promos in AEW, personally.
Oh, I don't know yet. He's had better promos.
He's had better promos, but I think it was one of.
That's one of okay. All right. Agree to disagree.
Lastly, the two other honorable mentions, I got Danielson before Revolution and the Don Callis promo from a couple weeks ago where the fans were just booing him out the building. And I'm sure you probably got something I'm forgetting.
Yeah, I went with a classic promo here, man. I didn't go with a segment. I don't know if you remember this promo, but it really this is probably my favorite of the year. It was Cody Rhodes in the lead up to WrestleMania. I believe it was the March 13th episode of Raw. He just got finished with a match. And do you remember the promo where he was like, uh, Mr. Heyman always talks about acknowledging Roman Reigns. I do acknowledge you, but damn it, you have to acknowledge me. You remember that, man?
Oh, yeah. Because I remember me and you talked about it on the pod, and I was like, dude, he's jacked because his veins were all popped out because he had just wrestled.
It was an impassioned, old school, yell at me promo, and he cut it right after a match, and it felt like he was talking. You know, it didn't feel like he was just reading from a script, which I'm sure he did. I'm sure he did read from a script, but I don't know, man. How he delivered the promo really stood out to me, and it was probably the best in ring, just him promo, the best of this year. You know what I'm saying, man? Not a segment, but just, old school, microphone in hand, him, the audience, and he just gets what he has off his chest, you know?
Yeah. No like outside interference or shenanigans,
Nobody
just a straight up
nobody
mic and one
interrupted him.
guy.
Yeah, nobody interrupted him. It was just him. And the fans went ballistic for the promo.
I did forget about that one, and it definitely deserves its seat at the table, I think. Because I'm not big on Cody, but I will admit that lead up to WrestleMania, because Roman wasn't there a whole lot, I was very into that match and that story, and Cody led the way. So definitely he deserves a nod for best promo this year.
They left a lot there, though. They can, if they do go back to this, which I think they would, I think they still got a lot to talk about.
You got any honorable mentions?
Just what you said, man. I agree. The ones you said were pretty memorable too, but I just got the Cody.
I'll say this too. The Bad Bunny promo, which it was all in Spanish, so I don't really know what he said, but that one kind of stuck out to me because it was on the announce table and everybody went crazy. And that time right there with Backlash was like,
that was good.
Yeah, that all of those shows right then were probably some of my favorite of the year.
Yeah, Bloodline stuff is always great though. Gotta preference that.
Yeah. Moving forward, most extreme moment of the year. I don't have any honorable mentions, and this one kind of took me a minute to dig, so I'll just go ahead. Tiger Driver 91. Forbidden Door, Osprey dropping Kenny straight on his head.
Yeah.
That was probably it. Maybe MJF tombstone off the top rope to Danielson, because obviously we all know about Danielson's head injuries, so why in the world he would think to take that bump. But I don't know. That was just the one when I heard most extreme moment, or when I read most extreme moment, it jumped off the page at me.
I got one honorable mention here. I got Logan Paul and Ricochet almost die. The Spanish Fly and Logan Paul land directly on his head. Yeah, that was pretty wicked, man. Because I remember I was watching the pay-per-view or PLE. I was watching the PLE, and I don't, there's not a lot of stuff that I like audibly say Jesus Christ at while watching wrestling, but that move and the landing of Logan Paul, I legitimately thought he broke his neck. Like, he's lucky, man. He's lucky he didn't die, because that could have went really, really sideways, and it did go sideways. But
Yeah,
it's a little bit of a recency bias though. But for the number one most extreme moment, and I just went with botches here, man. But I got Dante Martin snapping his leg with that what was that move he took? The Canadian Destroyer, Penta. Yeah, that was crazy. Like, there was no way I would ever agree to take a bump like that. Like, that just looks like it was destined for disaster, and it was, because it snapped his leg in half.
Yeah, you always whoop me on the memory freaking contest or whatever that we have here. Yeah, honestly, probably that sunset flip would be it, because it was like off a ladder through two tables. And the Logan Paul one definitely deserves a nod. My wife, she enjoys wrestling when it's good, and she'll sit there and watch it with me, but she's not just like gonna search it out on her own, I guess. She, when I was getting back into it, was kind of like, why do you go like, ooh, when they do stuff, or like, ooh? She was like, it's fake. Yeah, she made that noise at that Logan Paul Ricochet thing, because he almost died. So
He did. Yeah.
it definitely deserves a nod. I think, again, you're probably right with that two-table Penta spot, but God, it makes me wince thinking about it, because I just have that picture of his snapped leg burnt into my mind.
Could have went horribly wrong, bro. He could have broke his neck, honestly.
Yeah, had he not rotated enough, I think it probably went
Too much. He rotated too much.
Yeah, it probably went one of the worst ways that it could have. He could have just had a stinger, but
Yeah. Now, speaking of the stinger, he probably deserves a little shout out.
Oh God! Didn't he bust one of his teeth out?
Yeah, he broke his tooth. Yeah. Bro thought he had hops. Like, he was too far out. Even Taz said, hey, he's too far out.
Yeah. He thought he was doing that Stinger Splash, and it was 1995 all over again.
Thought he was Surfer Sting for a second.
I love Sting, but come on now. You should have known that was a far jump.
You too old for that, Sting. Come on now. You're a legend. Sit down.
Let's just ride it out. You said you got to the end of this year. Let's just ride it out. Not do anything too crazy. And, fight Goldberg at Wembley. Nah, I'm just playing. Let's move on though, so we can, stop turning my stomach at these nasty botches. Best heel / face turn. I think we might agree on this one, but I'll hold my answers until you answer. So go ahead.
All right. Oh, my honorable mention first. I got Phil Brooks turns heel on the IWC. Is it me, or is his reactions a little different since he's came back?
Definitely not unanimous babyface. I'll say that.
Especially in Toronto area.
God.
Yeah, man. I think he's alienated a part of his fan base with all the online feuding with the Bucks that he's done had. I think that he's basically turned himself heel online, man. Like, wouldn't you agree, Micah?
Hold on. I accidentally threw my mic.
You crossed the room now, man.
I had my legs crossed and the mic was like sitting in my lap on this little table, and I like tried to move my legs and the mic just flew. I don't know if you heard that like bing bang boom while you were talking, but
I just heard silence.
yeah, no, I like chucked it basically. What was it again? I'm sorry.
Oh, CM Punk turns heel on the IWC, man.
He's definitely not where he was before he left, but it's weird. Where were they last week? Regina. Oh yeah.
Oh,
He was pretty much unanimously a babyface. Forbidden
Well,
Door, they hated him.
There was like 400 people there.
Well, those 400 people liked him.
Yeah, they made noise for him. Did you see that clip where he said this match with Samoa Joe is the biggest of my career, and then the fan just said, "No, it's not. Shut up."
No, I didn't see that.
It was only 15 people there, so you could hear.
Oh, come on now. At first you said 1,000, then you dropped it to 100, and now we're at 15. You just downplaying AEW.
Well, that's what I do.
The shoe fits, huh?
It's my gimmick, man.
Anyways, I agree. Yeah, I can see your point there. Punk in the IWC kind of tarnishing his image. That may be a little last year, but I don't think he's helped it with the whole calling Moxley out with the whole Rocky Five thing.
Bro, and it okay. And then the first promo, man, he said, I apologize. That you're the soft. What was the line about being soft?
That's the only thing softer.
The only thing softer than you is the wrestlers that you worship, or something like that, man. Come on. That I'm sure that didn't sit too well with the elite fan base out there.
Good. They can take it, cry themselves to sleep because they don't have anybody to wipe their tears for them.
Jeez. Okay. And then my number one, man, is Jey Uso turning on Roman Reigns, finally siding with his brother, and officially kicking off the Bloodline Civil War storyline. That whole segment was great. Jey Uso, it felt like he was actually speaking, which I love in promos. I don't like when it feels like prepared statement. It felt like it was real. And in the end, he said, "You know what, Jimmy, you're out." And then he dropped the money line, and I'm out too. And he super kicks Roman, and Roman sells it like death. The crowd goes nuts. They super kick Solo, and then Roman gets up one more time, distraught, yelling at the Usos, and they drop him with a double super kick. Money. What Triple H call it? Cinema. Great, man. That was probably the best face turn of the year. And I would say Sami Zayn probably deserves a little shout out for turning on Roman. But I don't know. I feel like Sammy was babyface this whole entire time he was in the Bloodline. So I couldn't put that at number one, but it definitely deserves a shout out because that did happen this year.
You just blew my whole load.
Oh, man, that was you.
Yeah, I had Sammy at number one just because I feel like that kind of, I don't know, personally, it kind of started moving stuff online and people started paying a lot more attention to the Bloodline. To me, when that happened, the pop at Royal Rumble when that happened, obviously there was more people there than there was at, where the Usos turned. But I don't know, man. That pop is like, you can, especially with the bloodline stuff. I don't think anything else has done this in a long time, but this is what I can remember. And it happens like so many times with bloodline stuff. The
Yeah.
crowd gets so loud that you hear like the mic vibrating. It's so loud in there. It happened with the Sammy turn. It happened with the Jay turn. It happened when Jay turned on Sammy way before Jay turned.
Jimmy turning on Roman at in Saudi Arabia.
Yep. So again, I mean, daggone, we might as well name this the Bloodline show, or that's what they should name SmackDown. But
Yeah.
it's 1A, 1B to me. I definitely see your point. And we both hit on it, so I'm not really going to elaborate much further because you said everything that needed to be said about both of them. The only other honorable mention I had was Don Callis, just because the reaction he's getting now is one of the bigger reactions on AEW. So I think he deserves his flowers. I don't hate Don. I don't hate Kenny. I really just don't like the Bucks. And Don and Kenny by themselves are okay.
Speak for yourself.
Best feud. I think we can both narrow this one down pretty quickly.
I don't know. Like, we might disagree on this one.
Yeah, because I ain't got no honorable mentions. It's blanket state limit. State limit. Okay.
Whoa, hold up now.
Got to add that one to the book next to Hayitis.
Yeah.
The Bloodline. I mean, come on. You can say Sammy versus Roman or the Usos versus Roman, but I would just say the Bloodline feud as a whole. Whatever they're doing is great. If it's Sammy, if it's Jay, if it's Cody, whatever the Bloodline is feuding with, you can even include the Sammy and KO versus the Usos. It's hard to pick between those, and all those I would say are 1 A, B, C, D, E, however many you want to go to. But that's all I got for best feud.
I'm gonna hit you with a curveball here, man. Because I wouldn't see. I went with best singular feud, and the Bloodline's been feuding with a lot of people. So I didn't go with the Bloodline. That was my honorable mention, the Civil War storyline of the Bloodline. So Jimmy and Jay versus Solo and Roman. I got that as one of my honorable mentions. But what took the number one spot for me is Dom and Ray, man. Father versus son. Tale as old as time. I was thoroughly sports entertained by all their segments together. They had a pretty underrated match at WrestleMania together.
One of my matches of the year.
Yeah. And yeah, man, Dom's doing he actually is in a higher position coming out of that storyline, which I wouldn't have predicted, but he's been doing well. So I have that as my number one spot, man. Ray versus Dom.
If I had to pick individual, I would say the Civil War, but number 2, and definitely deserves his flowers, is Ray versus Dom. Because again, one of my matches of the year, like you said, great story. Especially with the fact that Dom and Eddie and Ray like had a thing back in like 2004.
Yeah.
That just added to it. The entrances at Mania, especially, I almost put on here for best promo, but it was kind of best segment, so I wasn't sure where to put it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The SmackDown right before Mania where like Dom goes over to his mom and does something and Ray slapped him and it was the first time Ray had ever hit him. It was great. So yeah, I can agree with you on that one for sure.
Yeah.
Most memorable moment. I got a couple of these, but I'll let you go ahead and go first because there's one that sticks out to me and I really wonder if you're going to say it.
Oh man, bro, what'd you say earlier? We should just name this show the Bloodline Show.
Yeah,
we back at it. And you touched on it earlier, so I don't really have to dive deep. But I just start my honorable mention. I got Roman gets pinned finally, and it's by Jey Uso. I was shocked when Jey Uso pinned Roman Reigns. Well, this is the first pin he's taken since 2019. And he took it to Jey Uso, man. And, I was fine with it because they built up Jey and this whole bloodline civil war. I think it called for Roman finally taking a pinfall loss. And he did it at the Money in the Bank. So I got that as my honorable mention for most memorable. And number one, you hit on earlier, Sami Zayn makes his choice and finally plants the chair and Roman Reigns is back. And yeah, man, that was some great stuff at the Royal Rumble.
Wholeheartedly agree. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
All of those are honorable mentions, and I got two more as honorable mentions. The Sami KO win at WrestleMania with them hugging in the ring, the confetti, great way to end night one. Was Roman retaining at WrestleMania. That was really memorable to me because it's like, well, crap, where do they go now? And obviously, like you said, Sammy's face turn, Roman being pinned. But my most memorable moment, and I was kind of shocked you didn't mention it, the Bad Bunny pop at Backlash.
That was great. Yeah, that was a great pop.
The video, it was on like every social media app I opened for a week. Not even from just WWE or like fans. I'm not like Sports Center was posting this stuff because the pop was so huge. And I mean, he's a global superstar, the most listened to artist in the world, or maybe top 5 now, I don't know. But I don't know, man, it was just crazy. Everybody's singing his song. I know everybody does that now because they sing.
It felt like a concert. It felt like a concert, man, when he came out.
Yeah, I mean, the people were like jumping up and down. And it wasn't like, oh, you can kind of hear them singing the song. Like, no, the entire arena was singing Bad Bunny's song.
And I loved how commentary just laid out. They didn't say anything. They just let the moment speak for itself. And the camera work they had was pretty iconic too, man. I like how they shot that.
The back shot where he's just walking into it, crazy.
Yeah.
So that's my moment of the year. But I definitely understand, like you said, Bloodline show. I mean, shoot, they made 4 honorable mentions on my list. It's just the best thing right now, by far. Yeah. I think this one will be quick, because I think we could both agree. Best pay-per-view of the year. I'll go ahead with my 2 honorable mentions. Backlash and WrestleMania Night 2. Really, really enjoyed Backlash. Like, I could sit down and play that pay-per-view right now and thoroughly enjoy it. The Bad Bunny match was good. Brock and Cody was solid. The Rhea Zelina match, which I was thinking not going to be anything great, really good. Dom versus Ray again. Good stuff.
Wait.
Carlito.
Wait. Dom versus Ray on night 2? No, that was on night 1.
No. I'm talking about Backlash. Didn't they? Wasn't it Dom and Ray versus?
Nah, they didn't have a match. They came out during the Priest and Bad Bunny match. Yeah.
Well, anyways, Backlash all around one of my favorite pay-per-views of the year, and I could quickly remember that, so that says something. Night 2, really good, in my opinion, all up until maybe the final match, which the Roman Cody match was really good. I just didn't love the finish, but it had Sheamus versus Gunther versus Drew, which match of the year candidate. Hate to spoil that one for you. I'm blanking now. Ray and Dom was night 1.
Night 2 had Omos versus Brock. They had that. What else they have? They had that weird tag match with the ladies. They lasted like 3 minutes. What else? Was Theory Cena night 1? think that was night 1.
Yeah, it opened up.
What was the night 2? Drew, you said Drew Gunther.
I
and
could have told
Sheamus.
you last, when I wrote this list, but now, um,
It was a small card, but I like that.
Edge versus Balor, Snoop Dogg versus The Miz. Maybe
Oh
this one
my
wasn't as
God.
good as I thought.
Oh my God, no, that was the funniest moment of the year.
Most
Shane,
memorable moment.
I forgot about that. That was the funniest moment of the year. Shane
Oh,
tearing both his
God.
quads.
The McMahon family curse.
Stephanie better watch out, man.
All them heels she's wearing. Yeah, I might take night 2 off. But my
Oh man,
final, maybe, I don't
you
know. My
like
final be all end all, WrestleMania night 1. Come on.
yeah. I mean, it's hard to beat that, man. Yeah, the Theory Cena match was, it was there. Rollins and Logan Paul had a pretty underrated match. I thought that was one of Logan Paul's best match.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was good, man. They had a memorable moment with KSI coming out in the prime mascot costume. They had that. Yeah, man. Logan Paul had a zipline entrance, was pretty cool.
Yeah.
What else we had? We had Braun Strowman, Ricochet, and that tag match. That was
Surprisingly good.
chaotic. It was okay. It was fine. And Ray and Dom, that was a
Yep.
really, really good match. Had a great story. Charlotte and Rhea. I mean, come on now. Should have been 5 stars, man. A 5-star women's match. Charlotte Flair and Rhea had probably her best match on the main roster against Charlotte that night. And it had
Star in my
very
book.
little story. Yeah, it had very little storyline, but it delivered in the ring, man. And then of course the Usos versus KO and Sammy. And we talked on that. We talked about the match earlier, I mean to say. So I mean, there's not a lot you can say what was wrong with night 1. Night 1 was almost as perfect can get for a wrestling card. It was tight. It was only 3.5 hours. And when it was over, you were excited about the next night of wrestling.
Yep. And the biggest stage of them all. I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, y'all came over and watched it, or I say y'all, you came over and watched it, and my brother, and we just had a good time. And I remember being really excited for night 2 because night 1 was really good.
Yeah.
So,
And then and night 2 happened.
and then they crushed us. Was that your pick also, or did you have another one?
Number 1 was WrestleMania night 1, and honorable mention was Backlash, like you said. Great night of wrestling. Backlash was.
Well, great minds think alike. Or broken clocks right twice a day.
What else we got?
Moving on, women's rising star.
This was hard. This was hard. This is the only thing I took a while to decide.
And I'm not even sure about the ones that I have.
I had to go look at the roster page, man.
I'll let you
Yeah.
go first.
All right, honorable mention, and I know you are going. I know you're gonna disagree with this, but I got Maxine Dupree as a my honorable mention.
Come on now.
No, whoa, hear me out. Hear me out. You hear that pop she got last week?
He's had one
Yeah.
match.
But it doesn't matter. The fans are invested, and they had a surprisingly entertaining segment on Raw on Monday, and the crowd did not, crap all over it. They were actually pretty excited to see it, and they were chanting, and they did all Gable's catchphrases, and they cheered Maxine on. Man, you know what? I'm going with Maxine. She has potential. She's she's attractive. And yeah, that's
Yeah.
my honorable mention. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
All right, and I got my number 1. I got Willow and Nightingale. It's my only AEW winner tonight, actually. But yeah, she ain't bad, man. I can see her doing great things. She's been used more on the show the last couple months. So yeah, I got Willow as my women's rising star.
I didn't include her, but I really do like Willow. Um, she's very white meat baby face, obviously, but it kind of plays into it. She's really smiley. Um, kind of, I guess, how like Raquel is or whatever, except Willow don't show off her back. Um, but I mean, she got a win over Sasha Banks in New Japan, so there's something to be said for that. Obviously, it
Yeah.
wasn't the original plan, but still, if you take it at face value, she got a win over Sasha Banks. She's been featured more, and she seems more legitimate to me than most women's wrestlers. So I like that pick. I'll put her on my honorable mentions. I didn't have any original honorable mentions, and I guess maybe me and you took this a little differently. I had Chris Statlander / Rhea Ripley, and here's why. Statlander, I think, has kind of been established, but I think she's hotter now than she's ever been. She's the first lady to ever dethrone Jade, so there's something to be said for that. Her numbers and the ratings don't dip as much. I think she's believable, and the fans seem to care about her and her new character, so we'll see where she goes. And again, she's more believable. I may have already said that. Rhea, on the other hand, it's hard to say rising star, but at the same time, I feel like she's at her peak right now. And I also feel like she's still gaining.
Momentum.
Well, yeah, she's at her peak, but what I'm saying is like there's room to improve. She's still gaining momentum, and to be included with the men's storylines, not as necessarily a valet, but like as a legitimate like, oh, okay, I might
She's
need to back off from her.
Yeah,
There's
she's
something to be
treated as an
said.
equal. She's treated as an equal in the Judgment Day, and the Judgment Day is the top act on Raw right now, man.
So you can see where I'm going with that. I know she's kind of established, but I think her stock is still rising.
Yeah. So yeah, we did go in two completely different directions.
Yeah, because you went with more like never won a title, never really
Yeah.
done like a whole lot, but
Almost about to break out.
yeah. So I don't know. But again, I think all of the picks are good. Maybe except Maxine, but we'll move
Oh,
on.
come on. I'm
Men's
locked in.
rising star. Look, I liked her with the maximum male models.
Are we back on? Okay.
Hey, bring them back. Have her turn on Alpha Academy and bring back the male models.
Bro, just merge Alpha Academy and the Jabronis and NXT together because they pretty much have the same gimmick right now.
The Creed brothers.
No, not well, yeah, them, but was it Andre Chase University? Chase
Oh
U.
yeah.
Bro, they're doing the same thing. Like, it's literally the exact copy of it.
Well,
Who
maybe
greenlit
they
that?
get called up and they'll see, it'll be like Alabama and Auburn.
Okay. Oh, okay. They got a beef. All right.
Yeah.
I hate it. I hate it.
The Iron Bowl. have it go off at WrestleMania.
I'll be entertained.
I don't know that I would. But anyways, men's rising star is up next. I got a couple here. This one was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be because I was kind of picking between two, but another two definitely deserve their flowers to me. So for honorable mentions, Dominic Mysterio, I think he's still gaining heat. He's still getting better in the ring. He just had a match with Cody. He's good enough as a heel that he can lose and not really lose any heat because he's just got that punchable face. He's a rotten, spoiled brat kid. So I think Dom is still getting better.
Yeah.
Rock Hard, he has been on every show of Collision, wrestling, pretty good matches.
Yeah.
And I want to say, has 90 minutes of wrestling time on Collision total. and I think the next highest person might be like around 30 or something like that. But he's been the most featured person on Collision. I think maybe Punk has taken a liking to him. I didn't really know anything about him before he got to Collision.
Did you
Uh,
you used to watch NXT back in the day, right? Around
well, yeah,
2012?
yeah. I remember him from that. I just meant as Rock Hard Juice Robinson, the character, I think it's
Yeah.
hotter now than it ever has been, and I think his stock is going up.
Hey, bro, if he brought back the hippie thing he was doing in NXT, I think that would get over, man. Like I really enjoyed that.
I could see it, especially with the AEW audience. I think it works better there where it's more adult. Can you hear my dog drinking again?
Oh, is that what that is?
Okay, I'll take that as a yes. Yeah, he is back there putting it down.
Yeah, he thirsty.
All right, well now he's done. Anyways, sorry about that slight interruption. I don't know.
Rock hard.
I kind of like pause. I kind of like this Juice Robinson gimmick. I think he's really getting into it, and he just I don't know. He seems legitimately a little loose in the head, I guess. I don't
Yeah.
know. I really like it. And great, now the other dog's drinking. So I'm gonna get these other two in real quick, and I think you're gonna have these as well, and I'm gonna let you go ahead. LA Knight is the other honorable mention, and my number one men's rising star is Damian Priest. Obviously, because he just won the Money in the Bank, and I really enjoy his stuff. And I'm gonna mute it real quick.
Okay, man. I only got one honorable mention because, like you said earlier, we went with two completely different directions here. But I'm gonna go with Takeshita. Takeshita? Yeah, that guy, the Japanese jabroni on AEW television. He's with Don Callis now. He's doing some good work. His in-ring stuff has never been a question, but now he has something to actually sink his teeth into with the Don Callis and the Blackpool Combat Club and the elite guys. He's involved with them, so yeah, he's got a storyline now. I think he's destined to break out in the old all elite wrestling in the next year or two. And number one, man, it's LA Knight. Where he started the year and where he is now is completely night and day, man. He got himself over like to a major degree in the last 6 months. I heard that he was in the top 3 merchandise sellers for the month of June or July. And man, you just look at his reaction at Money in the Bank. People were booing the hometown guy Butch in the Money in the Bank ladder match over LA Knight. Like it was just crazy the reaction he's getting on a weekly basis. And just the MSG show that they just had on Friday, man. He came out before the show started and got one of the biggest reactions of the night. Like LA Knight is destined to do bigger things in the next year or two. And you know what? I kind of at first I didn't understand why they gave the Money in the Bank briefcase to Damian Priest and not LA Knight because I thought it was all tailor made for him. But he doesn't really need it. I mean, he's over right now without the briefcase. And I think he's going to be world champion material very soon. So yeah, man, I got LA Knight as my men's rising star.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I honestly am shocked that I left Takeshita off the list. Because I really do like him a lot. Now that he's got a mouthpiece, I think things are, looking up for him, like you said. LA Knight is a solid pick. He was my guy until I put Priest, just because I've actually seen Priest win something, and they have yet to, kind of really get behind LA Knight. Now, Triple H said at that Money in the Bank thing, patience is a virtue or whatever. So I'm sure it is coming. But I've really gotten a liking to Priest this year. Before, I was just kind of like, whatever. But he just kind of seems to me like this new age Undertaker. obviously the gimmick is way different. But I just mean this kind of big guy. You can always put him out there, and he's going to have a good enough match. He looks the dark, cult heelish part, and he plays the big band well. Good on the mic, has a man's voice.
Yeah.
And he looks menacing. He passes the airport test, which you always talk about. So I just really like Priest. LA Knight, definitely 1B, because, I mean, he was doing the freaking Mountain Dew match at the beginning of the year, and now he's like in conversation to win the world title. So,
yeah. I just think his stock rose more in the last 6 months than Priest, because Priest, they gave him the U.S. championship a couple years ago, man. He's been around for a while on the main roster. I think LA Knight, what he's done in the last 6 or 7 months is probably unheard of, man. Just getting that type of as a mid-card act, he's getting Daniel Bryan 2013 reactions, man. It's crazy.
and it's not even the booking that's done him anything. It's just a couple little things here and there. It's like the catchphrase, really caught on, and people started to like it. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's people love to chant along with stuff.
And I don't know. I hope things do go good for LA Knight, because he deserves it. And I mean, even now I've seen more stuff like in TNA. He seemed to be getting a good crowd reaction. In NWA, he seemed to be getting a good crowd reaction. So this guy can do this stuff. Just give him the leash and let him run with it.
Yeah, and a lot of people say, "Oh, it's because he's old. He's 40. He's you can't invest in a 40-year-old." Bro, 40-year-olds now in wrestling can give you about 10 more years. Look at Jericho. Well, that's probably not a good comparison. But AJ Styles, he's what, 46? He still looks pretty good, man. Maybe he's a step slower, but AJ can give you a good 3-4 more years on top. He gave you 7 already in WWE, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, man. And Damian Priest is a month older than LA Knight right now. So I don't want to hear anything about the age thing.
See, that's what I didn't know when I was watching Money in the Bank, and I was like, when I saw Priest win, I wasn't necessarily upset, but I was like, I don't understand why they wouldn't put it on LA Knight. And then I looked at the age, because I was like, well, I guess maybe because he's old or whatever. And I looked at LA Knight was 40, and then I looked up Priest's age, and I was like, he's the same age, so why are they going to invest in him and not LA Knight? But maybe they're just waiting because they already got plans, and LA Knight kind of got over against their plans, so now they're thinking of ways to factor him in.
Yeah, and it'd be easier for Priest to hold that Money in the Bank on Mondays than it would for LA Knight to hold it on Fridays when you got the bloodline stuff going on. And you and I both know LA Knight ain't beating Roman Reigns no time soon.
Yeah.
So maybe it was the right decision to put the Money in the Bank on Priest and let him do his thing with the Judgment Day guys, because they are the most overact on Mondays. So give him something to do with the Money in the Bank.
Yeah, and I think you really did just kind of sum it up. You brought up a point to me that I didn't think of, that like the bloodline stuff's going to be on SmackDown, so you don't want to involve LA Knight in that to make it worse.
Yeah. People will start cheering his name through bloodline segments. I really believe that. So maybe it's okay that he didn't win Money in the Bank, man. We still got, maybe Royal Rumble. Who knows? I don't know.
I don't know. I think Cody's a lock for the Rumble, though.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. They could go in a lot of different directions. Why couldn't you just trade Cody to SmackDown?
We'll see. Yeah. We'll see where they go. But I definitely think by the end of this year, our men's rising star will be LA Knight. I just think for now it's Priest, but by the end of it, I think LA Knight will be the obvious pick.
Let me throw a prediction out, because my last LA Knight prediction was bad, because I predicted he was going to win Money in the Bank. But I think LA Knight beats Austin Theory at SummerSlam. Because it seems like Austin Theory's program with Sheamus is over, and he needs something to do going into SummerSlam. And I think LA Knight takes the title off of Austin Theory.
You turn an LA Knight face.
He kind of already is, man. He doesn't. I mean, he doesn't act like a heel. He just does the same thing, but he just directs it towards other heels. Like you remember that promo he cut on Logan Paul?
Yeah, I was about to say that because Logan's technically a heel, so
Yeah.
blurring the lines. Anyways, though, we're on to our last four, which are probably going to agree on this next one, and we kind of hit on it earlier. Unless you pull some, crap out, because you'll be like, "Well, do you remember this April 21st match?"
You know where we're going. Yeah, go ahead.
Is Rhea versus Charlotte? I don't even have an honorable mention to think of.
Not at all. Oh, you didn't like Sasha versus Hikaru Shida and Stardom, Micah?
Well, call me Stevie Wonder because I didn't see it.
No, I don't think that happened.
Well, whoever she fought at, was it Dominion or what's their big show? Was it Dominion? Whichever one Osprey and Omega were on. Well, no, she only debuted there. Anyways, it's a one-horse race.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, not even putting it in a different distinction, I would put Rhea and Charlotte for probably match of the year, like top 4 at least, in my opinion.
It's battling out for that number 1 women's match of all time for me, man. Maybe I put Sasha versus Bayley at TakeOver Brooklyn 1 in 2015. Maybe I put that a little bit above this match just because that had a more of a story to it. But Charlotte gave Rhea a star-making performance, man. Like the match that Charlotte and Rhea had was the match that Theory and Cena should have had, like a star-making performance. Like Cena completely phoned it in, and Charlotte had her working boots on, and she probably had her best match with Rhea, man.
And the
great.
Crowd wanted to hate that match too.
Oh, of course, bro. I remember some reports were coming out that this could main event night 1, and there was a little bit of a backlash online that shouldn't be the main event, and then they went out there and proved that maybe it should be main evented.
Yeah. Because I remember when we were watching it, like, I mean, I was paying attention, but I was kind of, and the crowd was kind of at the beginning. And then by the end of it, it was like, oh my God, this might be the greatest women's match of all time. So, I don't think, and I'm going to go ahead and make a prediction. I don't think anything's beating this for the rest of the year. You can pretty much put this one as a lock.
Yeah.
For an official Scoopy.
Absolutely.
But I'm interested to see your pick for the next one. Men's match of the year. I've got a couple honorable mentions, but I'm going to see if they match with yours, so I'll let you go first.
Okay. Tough, man. It's tough. Because I'm a storyline guy. So a perfect match is great storyline, great in-ring stuff.
Agreed.
And for my honorable mention, these things didn't meet both criterias. But for my honorable mention, I got Gunther versus Sheamus versus McIntyre. It was a great in-ring match. I just wasn't feeling the storyline, man. I mean, they were feuding for who should be feuding with Gunther. Okay. So, it was great in ring. They beat the bejesus out of each other. The chops you couldn't see through, the punches you couldn't see through. And Gunther looked like a beast by beating. Did he stack him or did he just pin Drew?
No, I think I want to say
he powerbombed. He powerbombed Drew onto Sheamus and then he pinned him. Wasn't it like that?
Yeah, I think Drew hit I think Drew hit the Claymore onto Sheamus, and then Gunther slid back in the ring and caught Drew as he was about to go for the pin or whatever. Hit him with the power bomb and did that. So it was kind of like he snuck in last minute and finished both of them off.
Yeah, but it was great, man. A lot of stiff strikes, man. If you like the strong style stuff, then you were in heaven watching this match. But I know I'm digging in my bag for this one, but I got Ilya Dragunov versus Dijakovic at NXT. What NXT was that? I believe it was the last NXT they did. I forget
Great
where they
American
went.
Bash.
Was it the Bash? Look that up real quick. But
I'll
Micah,
give you some Google machine.
yeah, look that up. But yeah, man, they tore the house down. They had a just like what I said about the Gunther, Sheamus, and McIntyre match. You couldn't see through a lot of strikes. Ilya's a madman, and yeah, man, it was a great last man standing match, and probably the best NXT 2.0 match ever. I mean, NXT 2.0 is only been going on for about 2 years now, but it felt like NXT Black and Gold. It felt like something you see at a takeover in like 2016 or something. And for my number one, like I said earlier, the perfect match should be in ring and storyline, and
It was Battleground.
NXT Battleground. Okay, yeah, that was a great last man standing match. But match of the year, KO, Sami Zayn versus the Usos. Perfect storyline. The first time a tag match is main event at WrestleMania in 38 years. They tore the house down. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, lifelong best friends, finally capturing the tag titles in the biggest company in the world with two guys that look like that. It would bring a tear to your eyes, man. It was great. Best tag. It's probably my favorite tag match of all time.
Definitely up there. Definitely up there. One of the best ways to end a WrestleMania. Kind of like Benoit and Guerrero at 20, which I mean, obviously now is a little tainted, but then even now it still kind of makes you sad because Chris loses Eddie, and then that
Within
really
three,
gets to Chris.
within 3 years, they're both gone.
Yeah, and so but I would put it up there with a really emotional ending to WrestleMania. So I don't have any complaints with your list. We do differ in a couple things. I'll preface it with I haven't watched that Ilya match yet. I've been meaning to get around to it. I just haven't.
He had a great match with Braun. Apparently, happened last night that I want to check out. Man, he's pretty good, man. I know he's small, but I kind of get like Darby vibes from him, where he like you. I mean, he lays his stuff in, and his matches make sense. I don't know, man. I got high hopes for Ilya.
I would like to see him and Gunther on the main stage at some point in time. Which I need to go and watch all those because, again, I was out of the loop when all that stuff happened. So, I'm really shocked you didn't say the one that I have on my list. I've got a couple more than you, but I also have Gunther versus Sheamus versus Drew. But for my honorable mentions, Gunther versus Sheamus versus Drew, Ray versus Dom, which I was also kind of shocked you didn't mention. I really enjoyed the match itself. It was a little hokey because it
And
had the spanking spot and stuff like that, but
they got a
it
big
was good to
reaction.
me. Yeah, and the entrances.
Yeah.
Usos versus Sammy and KO is also an honorable mention. Really liked it, but not my, breadwinner. And lastly, Ospreay versus Omega 2 at Forbidden Door. Not typically my cup of tea, but their first one was really good, but I had to pick one, so I like the second one better personally.
See, I never got around to watching that one.
Which is fine. It's the mid-year stuff, and we kind of like, hey, we coming back this week? Okay, you want to do an award show? Yeah. So And speaking of getting around to watching it, I just rewatched this match or watched all of it, whatever. But my winner, MJF versus Danielson, the Iron Man match at Revolution for the AEW World Title. In my opinion, the greatest Iron Man match of all time. I'm really shocked you didn't have it on your list at all.
Well, I mean, it deserves a spot at the table, but I only went with one honorable mention. But yeah, man, it was a great match. It kind of it didn't make my list personally because I just didn't enjoy the storyline. But yeah,
That's
man,
fair.
as a in-ring match, bell to bell, not a lot of bad things you can say about the match. I mean, it kept your interest, which is something that's really difficult to do in an Iron Man match, especially a 60-minute Iron Man match. But they did, man, and they probably MJF's best match, and definitely Bryan Danielson's best match in AEW for sure.
Yeah, I think both of those things are true. The only other MJF match I would even consider would maybe be his one against Darby at Full Gear 21. And the one against Punk, but I mean, I'm also biased just because I really like the story and we were there live.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of people love Brett and Shawn. I've been rewatching the Monday Night Wars, and a lot of people love Brett versus Shawn at 12. It's
Mhm.
good. It drags a lot in the middle because there's no falls. And the MJF Danielson stuff just did crazy stuff that you don't see very often without having to, chop somebody's arm off with a chainsaw. The tombstone off the top rope, crazy. The DQ spot where MJF low blow Danielson, got two quick falls to tie it back up. The ending sequence where it goes to a draw, restart it, all that good stuff.
They
And
had me believing for a sec too, with all the when Daniel, I call him Daniel Brian Danielson started doing the yes chants, which he's never done in AEW. They had me believing for a sec.
yeah, and especially the one, and I mean, like I said, I watched it after, so I knew MJF won, but in that moment, I could see that I would have thought Danielson won because it was during the sudden death. I think he hit him with a Busaiku knee or whatever, and I mean, the crowd was just alive for Danielson. And that adds to it, too. The crowd was up the whole time, like you said. So to keep your interest for 60 minutes, have a really good match, especially in an Iron Man match that has a bunch of classics already tied to the name. Hard to do. Personally, my favorite of the year. But by the end of the year, we'll see, because there's a lot of ground left to go.
Yeah,
And we both still need to watch some of the matches, honestly.
yeah,
But we got two left. The two biggest categories. Once again, not final, not the official scoopies, but especially for the men's, I don't know that my mind is going to change by the end of the year. But let's go ahead and start with the women's. Women's Wrestler of the Year so far. My two honorable mentions, Toni Storm, because her matches have been pretty solid, plus she's been champion for a good part of the year. The heel work at the beginning of the year with the Outcast did not like, but recently I feel like she's kind of turned a new leaf and it's been better. My other honorable mention is Rhea Ripley.
mm,
I would put her at one, but she just doesn't wrestle a whole lot, and she's more kind of, I guess, in the background with the Judgment Day stuff, so it's not really like her wrestling, nor is it her. I don't know, like she's more in a Dom storyline than she is with her own storyline defending her own belt, to me. So my number
yeah,
one, which recently has kind of changed, but Bianca Belair, I still think has
mm,
every right to be in the number one spot. She had a solid match at WrestleMania, solid match at Backlash, was still getting good reactions. Kind of changing it up here. You don't know if she's kind of a babyface or heel right now because of the stuff with Charlotte and Asuka. I don't know. I mean, just to me, I've enjoyed Bianca's work still this year, which is crazy because she was still my person from last year.
yeah. She was my honorable mention. I think she held the title way too long. So
Yeah.
towards the end there, it got a little stale. But yeah, her in-ring stuff has been really good all year, man. Like you said, her promos are, they're promos. They're nothing. She ain't the Rock out there, but she gets big reactions, and the crowd loves her. But for my number one spot, man, I'm actually gonna disagree with you. I'm going with Rhea Ripley. Feel like she's a very important featured part of Monday nights, and her match with Charlotte. She had a really good match with Natalia a couple weeks ago, which probably not a lot of people saw, but that was okay. Um, for me, man, I don't feel like she should be wrestling every week. She's a special attraction. So her not wrestling every week doesn't bother me as much. I think she's the most overact as far as a woman in the entire company and entire business, actually. She gets the biggest reaction, man. She getting bigger reactions than Becky at this point.
Yeah.
And I tried to look for somebody in AEW to give an honorable mention to, but man, AEW's women's division, it's just been booked poorly all year. I mean, you have some good matches from what's the British girl? The
Hater.
British girl? Yeah,
And I
yeah, Hater.
would put her, but she's been injured too, so I think that's played a fact in this.
Yeah, Tony Storm has been doing some stuff with the Outcast that I haven't been a fan of. So I couldn't she's not gonna make my list, man. But yeah, Rhea Ripley is a woman of the year, in my opinion.
That's justified. 100% by the end of the year, it will be Rhea, barring injury or an act of God or somebody getting over like LA Knight from the women's division. It will be her, but to me, just right now, I think Bianca still holds the crown. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it does, man. She's actually wrestles every week and she has a lot of accolades throughout the year. So yeah, man, I can see how you go with that.
Yeah. And finally, men's wrestler of the year, and I really think we're probably going to have the same answer, but I'm interested to see what you say, but I'll go first. Or wait, no, I went first last time, so you go. Putting you on the
All
field.
right. Yeah, I think this is you know what? I'll just go with a couple honorable mentions. I got Gunther as one of my honorable mentions, man. He's had a very, very good year as far as in-ring stuff. And his IC title run is probably the greatest of all time. I don't think that's hyperbole at this point. He's about to pass the Honky Tonk Man's record. So he's still undefeated. He hasn't lost on the main roster.
2 match of the year candidates for sure.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah, every time he's in there, man, it looks like he's in an actual fight, and you can't see through anything he does. So yeah, I got Gunther as my honorable mention, and I'm gonna go give some love to the boys across the street. I'm going with MJF as my runner-up. Very solid stuff. He's probably been the only thing watchable on the Wednesday night show since Mr. Brooks took his ball and went home. He kind of gets into a little bit of comedy stuff, a little too much for my liking, but he's still entertaining, whatever he does. His matches have been really good when he does wrestle, which isn't often. But yeah, man, MJF is my second runner up, and of course, come on now, we named it the Bloodline Show for a reason.
You
Number
love the
one,
music.
we are throwing our ones up as we speak. Is one Joseph Anoa'i, Roman Reigns. He is wrestler of the year. I don't care how many times he wrestles. He's still the biggest draw. And WWE is going through its hottest period in 20 plus years because of that man right there, Roman Reigns. And hot take, I'm going to say this and I'm going to let you go. I think Roman Reigns at his peak right now is a bigger draw than John Cena was at his peak. Just throwing it out there.
If you like that take and you want to hear us elaborate on it more, join us next week. We're running close to time, but that's a very interesting point, and I want to get some numbers, and we're gonna have fun with that on next week's show because you're gonna get a whole dialogue out of me right now, and we're already 2 hours in, so I'll save it for next week. So make sure you join us next week. Is Roman a bigger draw than John Cena? I'm going to run through mine real quick because you got two of mine in the honorable mentions. Gunther, obvious. You already said everything that needed to be said. MJF, already said everything that needed to be said. The other two, Omega, I think has had a solid year. He's trios champion. He's not my cup of tea, but he's had two match of the year candidates. He's been pretty much a main eventer since he came back. He had a solid match with El Hijo del Vikingo, if that's what you're into. It's not for everybody, but I think he at least deserves a seat at the table, but I don't think he's number one by far. My official runner-up is MJF. Right under him, maybe. I don't know. Him and Gunther is tough. This guy I'm about to say. Cody Rhodes.
Oh.
Still a solid year. I know he didn't finish the story, but he's beaten Brock Lesnar. He won the Royal Rumble. He main evented WrestleMania and had a really good match. Had a solid match with Dom. Is probably going to have another good match at SummerSlam. And I imagine he's going to be factored in the rest of the year. Wrestler of the year. Rest of the year. Getting late. I don't think much more needs to be said about Cody. He's moving a lot of merch as well.
He's the biggest babyface in the business right now, man.
So there's something to be said for that. But go ahead and throw your ones up. I said it last year. I'll say it again. And I don't think he's moving by the end of the year. It's Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
Biggest draw in wrestling. Moving the most merch. Best storyline in wrestling. All these awards went to the Bloodline. Who's at the center of the Bloodline? Roman Reigns.
He passed 1,000 days as world champion, which is something that hasn't been done in 35 plus years. Past Pedro Morales. He's getting close to Hulk Hogan's record reign. Man, it's just he's on what's his, I think his one of his t-shirts says greatness on another level. He's that right now.
Yep. Probably going to be Hogan's reign if I had to guess. I'd have to look at the timeline, but he's probably going to beat it. And something that I think is going unsaid about Roman's reign. Two things. He's the first person since Punk to hold the WWE title for this long. The official WWE title.
Whoa, hold up. AJ Styles held it for a year too.
Yeah, but Punk was 434. That was the longest in modern era.
AJ Styles held it for a whole year.
Yeah, but
Gotta
Punk
give him
held
his
it for like a
flowers.
year and a half. Well, okay. I like
okay.
AJ.
No, what a year and a half. Come on.
Okay, anyways.
Nitpicking.
And the last thing I want to say about Roman, because the only thing you didn't say, Roman has like 5 4.5-star matches for Meltzer this year.
Yeah.
So say what you want to, he don't wrestle a lot. When he does, it's major league, and he's convinced me and you to drive 4.5 hours to go see him in like 3 weeks. He's convincing everybody else that you have to be in that arena for SmackDown. There's one ticket available for the Orlando show.
It's crazy, man.
I'm telling, like, it's no debate. I'm sorry, you can say, oh, he don't wrestle a lot. He don't have great matches. He only, Superman punch, kick, whatever. Great match with Sammy. Great match with Cody. Hottest, person in the entire industry right now is Roman Reigns. So,
yeah, no debate. And you know what? Steve Austin didn't give you 7-star classics during the Attitude Era. He didn't need to. And he was in there. It was memorable. He was selling the most merch. He was moving the most tickets. And he was drawing the highest ratings.
So, we acknowledging Roman. And I think we're going to keep it that way for the rest of the year.
Most definitely.
But anyways, we've acknowledged these mid-year awards for over an hour now and some other topics. It's our return episode. We're trying to get back in the saddle. But again, make sure to join us next week. One of our topics for sure is Roman Reigns a bigger draw than John Cena at his peak. I think it's definitely going to be an interesting conversation. Make sure to follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, wherever social media is. We probably are. Probably about to open up a Threads account. I mean, hey, you got to advertise somehow. There ain't a whole lot of podcasts on there, so we're going to be one of the first ones.
Hey, I downloaded it, man. I'm ready to go.
Really? I'm shocked. You ain't got a whole lot of social media, so for you to download it, that's saying something.
Gotta get my burners ready, man.
So you can talk to KD.
So I can dog anybody that buries the Scoop Slam podcast.
That's right. But anyways, make sure to check us out there. Make sure to join us back next week, anywhere you get your podcasts. I'm going to try and start uploading these maybe a week late to YouTube, but we'll see. As for me, as for Ryan, thank you for listening to the Scoop Slam podcast. Hope you have a great rest of your day.